Hi there, I'm Dani Henderson. Welcome back to my beautiful channel. Would you like me to pause for a moment, Andrea? Thanks. Well, welcome. I'm Dani Henderson. Welcome back to my full disclosure channel and my beautiful friend, Andrea Foulkes. How are you, Andrea?
I'm very well. Hello, Miss Dani Henderson. How are you?
Very good indeed. It's been a while since we played together. There's been a lot going on this year, a lot of ups and downsy emotions, and people getting right with themselves and focused on the healing, the inner healing. And you and I are long-term therapists. We work very much on the inner child healing. You're currently doing lots of one-to-one sessions. People can book at the end and look at your links at the end. But I want to put that in people's minds if they're looking for healing right now. I am not seeing clients one-to-one currently, but you most certainly are, my dear. Now, we're going to call this emotional taboos. Can you explain why?
Because our healing, our deep, deep healing, and for 25 years, I've done past life regression, inner child healing, ancestral timeline healing, spirit relacement, which is dealing with entities, ancestral healing, which is a big one. But your healing requires you to go into the emotional taboos. And the reason I thought of emotional taboos is because we've just had what's it called, bonfire night here with the great man himself, could be a distant relative, I'm not sure. Guy Foulkes. He was the guy who tried to burn down the Houses of Parliament unsuccessfully back in the day. But all the things that require our healing require you to go into, a part of what I do is the emotional Akashic records. And in the emotional Akashic records are your taboos. And when I say taboos, they're all the things you want to express, but you don't. But they're all the things that are creating the miasms in your emotional body. And of course, if we heal our emotional body, our physical body follows suit of the emotional body in general. You can't say it for everybody because people will get very argumentative about, physical healing. But if we heal our emotional body, that is the catalyst. So why are we so uncomfortable? And we're leading up to an emotional taboo time. And what is that big emotional taboo time? Christmas, which brings up so much for people, isn't it? It's like, where should I be? Who should I be with? Present. Oh my God, she's even got the Christmas. I thought you were going to bring on the other glasses. You've got Christmas ones.
Is it too early? Is it too early though? It's so annoying. People are so annoying, aren't they? But these are my favorite glasses, Andrea Foulkes. They are. I think they're fan dabby dozy. I do.
You know what?
And
I've
I
not
love me a
seen those.
nutcracker. I do. Evening all.
Now that's a quality decoration, isn't it?
Oh, I've got loads of them. But you know what? Talking of taboos, I had family come and stay with me recently from overseas, and one of the family members opened up my Christmas hidden cupboard. And when they looked and saw all the nutcrackers of every imaginable size and McGlathith, they got triggered. I went, quick, shut the door then, you silly cow. Here, have a cup of tea and two sugars. Because sometimes that's all we need. A cup of tea and two sugars to bump us out the emotional tabooing that's going on and the miasms. Now, you mentioned a few things there. You mentioned Guy Fawkes. Your name is very similar. Well, you know my friend JJ Ainsworth, who spoke at my last conference, the great historian, the great antiquarian JJ. JJ wrote that her great great grandfather someone Ainsworth is the man who wrote the book Guy Fawkes. And Guy Fawkes, as you and I know, and everyone in Britain knows, that we celebrate November the 5th, bonfire night. It's rather macabre. We make up a big scarecrow looking dolly thing and we throw it on the bonfire. And it's called Guy because Guy Fawkes is the man who tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament or Commons or whatever, an odd lord or two, or a king or queen here or there, and it was a big to do. So those that may not know what you refer to, that's what it is. You
Yeah, it's a
also,
very English thing, isn't it? It's
yeah,
really, really English.
definitely. And then you also mentioned the Akashic records of the
I
Akashic
say a
records.
Catholic.
Yeah, and
It's
then
like
Cryon
stone.
says Akash. So this is all the same thing. We'll
It's
come to
like
that.
scone and scone, isn't it?
What?
It's
Scone and
it's like
scone.
scone
Yeah.
and scone.
Yeah.
The Akashic and the Akashic. To me, the Akashic records is I'm very specific. So I deal with the emotional Akashic records. And for many years, I couldn't say the word Akashic. So I like to bandy it about now that I can pronunciate it now. But to me, I'm very specific. I'm dealing with the emotional stories. So the emotional stories will take you into the stories of your soul, which will be the past lives, or it will be the ancestral stories, or it will be the inner child or the womb stuff, or entities as well. And then I have a great story to share with you of a client the other day.
Go on then.
So I love people that I've worked with for many years. Now, you don't have to have worked with me for many years, but she is a classic example of someone I've worked with. And I say worked with, maybe she did 2 sessions one year, then I didn't hear from her for maybe 3 years, and then she did another 2 or 3 or 4 sessions online over 5 years. So see, what I'm saying is it's someone I've worked with over a 20-year period. So I know her quite well. And the thing is, sometimes new people to therapy think, how many sessions will I need? And it's like, once you really understand the gravitas of going inside yourself and finding somebody you like and a technique you like for going inside yourself, in truth, you'll probably be doing that work for the rest of your life. And over time of coming to workshops, doing stuff like that, you will learn skill sets that mean that you can process a lot of this in your own time on your own. And my client is a really good example of being able to process stuff on her own. And then this curveball came in, and she said, I desperately need a session with you. I am beside myself. And so she starts telling me what's happening. Now, this is a grown-up 40-ish-year-old woman with a child and a husband, and her parents are selling her childhood home. She can hardly speak as she's telling me this story. And as she's telling me this story of her parents selling the childhood farm in England, not too far from Somerset, I live near Glastonbury, her voice changes almost into a distressed child. She is hysterically sobbing. And my first thought is this just her wounded inner child? Is this her own little sort of 7-year-old really attached to mummy and daddy's house? And is she just really distressed because her parents are going to sell the house? And do we need to go into healing this 7-year-old child from this lifetime? But as I start to tune into it, and where I'll tell you the gift as we go along is because she's learnt the skill set to be able to tune in, which I open the Akashic stories of this place, you know, the ley lines, the place where this is. She can see even before me a bit more than even what I could see. So I start to be able to tune in, and I'm drifting away, but with my eyes open. That's the thing. I'm not closing my eyes and going, you know, I'm not looking into a crystal ball. I'm just using your voice. I'm not looking at you. That's the thing. If I look at people, I mean, obviously when I see you in person, you've got your eyes closed then because you're laying down on a sofa. So your little eyes aren't looking all ever hopeful at me. And the thing is, some people get really upset. They think we're going to be looking at each other. But if you're going to be looking at me doing a session, you're going to be worrying about presenting yourself to me, smiling, looking joyful and happy, and worrying about, is your house tidy? You don't need to worry about that, because I'm only going to be listening to your voice. And if you're only listening to my voice and not looking at me, you're going to drop deeper into your emotional self, which is where you need to be for healing to happen. So the fact that your ego gets triggered if you think, oh, I thought I was going to see them, you know, no, you need to prioritize your healing. You don't need to see me. You need to drop into your emotional self and ugly cry. An ugly cry can, you know, involve snot coming out of your nose and howling and primordial sounds like a wolf coming out of you. And we'll talk a bit more about that hopefully later on. But going back to the story with my client, so I start to tune in and think, okay, where is this coming from? Why is she really distressed about the parents and the family in the house? And I start to see it. There's a well. And I said to her, is there a well on the land where your family lives? She said, yeah, but it's closed over. The well is closed over. And I go, okay, I can see in another timeline of this land, that there's a man and there's a little bunch of children all watching near the well. And this man has grabbed one of the children and he shoved the child down the well and drowned the child. And all the other little children, they all look about under 8 years of age. They're all horrified and terrified. And he's just like slammed the lid down and this child drowns. And this man is like deranged and angry and, you know, really terrifying the children. As I'm sharing this with her, she's going, oh my God, I can see it. Yes, yes, this is the truth. And I'm like, where is it stored in your body? So we're clearing it out of her body where it's stored. Then we speak to her 7-year-old. Then I said, ask for a mirror to be in front of you. She sees that all these other children, not just the child that drowned, all the other children are attached to her. They're not with her all the time, but they're oscillating in and out of her energy field. So then I have to clear her 7-year-old, because she's more or less, her 7-year-old is the same age as the children that drowned. Roughly, they're about 7 to 8 years of age, these children. So we clear this level of it. And then she's like, it's worse than that. And I said, well, what is it? She said, there's other children and they're in cages in tunnels leading to other parts of the village. I'm like, oh my goodness. So we're clearing this in all timelines. The timeline we're existing in now and the timeline in 1788 when this happened, we're clearing that timeline. And then the children listen to her because their souls are trapped, and we're guiding them on to be carrying on from not being trapped in this physical reality, going back to being part of their true soul totality of who they are. But they ask her, can you, and thankfully her parents are a little bit open to spiritual things. They ask for a ceremony to take place. And I'm being guided to tell her that you need to get the deeds of the house or a map of the house, which she has. And we are going to put crystals on it and send healing into the timelines of the house and the land. But the children asked for a really cute little ceremony. They asked for her and her family. And she sent me pictures and she did the most beautiful ceremony with her family, and they all wore daisy crowns. And it might sound silly, but these ceremonies are so important. And they asked for a daisy ring to be made around the well and for them to sing and do a prayer, you know, not a religious prayer, just a prayer to the souls of the children.
Yeah.
And to close the portal. So we close the portal in all timelines of existence, past, present, future timelines. Always important that you close the portals. And we felt this would help her neighbor as well, who's an elderly lady whose family owned the farm back in the day. So, you know, this healed her inner child. We did some more work with her inner child from when she lived at the farm. So this, you know, it went on for an hour, but this was big work that we did. And this is the thing, the gravitas of this work that you're doing, you think on yourself, is not just helping you, you know, you're helping other children whose souls have got attached and aren't always with you. They oscillate in and out. You know, I had a client who's coming actually on Saturday, and I work a lot with Indian families because they understand entities. They have in their, you know, lineage of understanding about entities, and they have shown me sometimes this is what we would do with an Indian healer. I was like, oh, it's not quite the approach I would take. You know, I feel there has to be a more gracious, loving conversation that happens not just with you but with the entities that are attached. And there's a lot of, like, I would call it international negotiations going on, because, you know, they have a belief that isn't necessarily a truth about how they've ended up attached to my client. And then my client said to me, but I don't think this, I know there's an entity attached to me, but I don't think it's with me all the time. I said, no, they're not always with you all the time. They can oscillate between other family members and cause chaos in a whole family dynamic. And she said, well, that's what I feel, you know. And I'll just tell another little bit of that story. So this Indian family that I've worked with quite a lot, during the COVID times, the daughter had to sit in because there was nowhere else for her to go. And I was a little bit like, oh, I don't normally let people sit in on the sessions. And this entity came forward. And of course, if the client speaks English, the entity can speak English as well. But this entity was so cross, shouting, and I was a little bit concerned for the daughter watching, thinking, oh my God, I hope she's not going to be terrified by this. Because this entity was shouting in Indian that I didn't understand. But the daughter translated it going, saying this. I was like, oh, okay. Are you okay? She went, yes. I know who this one is. I'm like, you do? Yeah, I've seen this entity come through my mum so many times. And I think that's the truth of many families. You know, when I'm dealing with an entity, you've probably experienced that entity coming through your loved family members. You know, in times when there's a big argument in the family, you kind of think, oh, there's a bit of a personality change there, and they've gone into a bit of a rant. But that's often the entity coming through.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's just so important to raise this so people can start to understand and break down once they let go of their religious programming, because a lot of people can't. They have to rely on the Bible or the prayer they've been told. They're not actually advocating for themselves. And they must, and we must. And the other day I was flicking through TV. I've been really, really ill, as you know, like bedridden, sofa ridden, and I was flicking through and I saw this program. And I only put it on because the title horrified me, but also made me laugh. It was called Wives with Knives.
Oh my God.
These terrible stories. And a family member walked past and he went, what are you doing? I said, I don't know why I'm watching this. I feel too weak to turn it off anyway. I flicked along and I found something called The Haunting. And because of my paranormal background, of course, I'm like, let's have a look at this. And it was a story of beautiful Elizabeth Warren and her husband, I forget his name, the Warrens, that would do these exorcisms on people, because you don't exorcise, you exorcise a person, not a place, but you bless and remove from a place. And I was watching it, and they were saying about how when this lovely man, stepdad, was in the house with his wife and his stepchildren, he became a monster because this monstrous entity was messing with him. And this very much does happen to people. And and they come in and they come out. And you know, there's times when if someone's doing drugs or someone's drinking too much, there's a limit. If you're drinking, you go over a certain barrier, bandwidth in your field, you're going to be open to. It's not like some people, oh, holier than thou, oh, thy righteous ones, you know, don't ever have a drinketh thee, or thee are clearly possessed and a drunk. That's wicked. And I want to say to the women in particular who've been putting those messages out, shame on you. Sit yourselves down and sort yourselves out. Quit calling people alcoholics for having a drink. It's wicked, wicked. Anyway, probably former nuns and miserable your whole lives. That aside,
I reckon the nuns, I mean, I don't really drink. I mean, you know, when the doctor says, and how many units do you drink? And I go, 12, that's a year, maybe 13 some years. And it's like, I just don't really like it. And I don't really like the taste of it. But yeah, I think the nuns probably drank secretly. I think that, you know.
they did. They were partying with the vicars, and we all know it. People
Yes.
stop telling lies about themselves in their lives and stop pretending. But anyway, back to the paranormal.
Can we mention the nuns again? Because I tell you what, I was thinking the other day, we do need to clear past lives. I work with people a lot to clear past lives of being a nun, vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience.
Poverty, lack.
Yeah. But I was thinking the other day, in fact, only last week, I was thinking, I don't see any nuns wandering around anymore in habits. Do you remember as a kid in the UK, you'd often see a couple of nuns on an outing? Where have the nuns gone? Well, I have actually spent, oh, here we go. Now I'm going to tell you my story. When I lived in London, I was still working on TV, and, you know, I'm very jolly and friendly. So people always go, oh, hi, Andrea, blah, 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 blah. I lost my voice. And I thought, oh my God, this is a nightmare where I live, because everyone's like, why are you not speaking? And you're having to speak to say, I've lost my voice. I need to not speak to heal my voice. You know, what am I going to do? You know, it's a nightmare. I've really lost my voice. And a friend said to me, I know where you can go to be in silence. Anyway, she organised it with Father Sean, who I happen to know, who's now a healer. He's left the monastery. Anyway, she organised for me to go and stay with a closed order of nuns in Wales. So off I go to this this monastery in this lifetime, and I get to these big gates, of this monastery, and I'm thinking this is going to be great. They're going to go, here we go, we've got a little outfit for you to wear, a little brown number, and we'll take your makeup and your phone. But it wasn't like that. I mean, they were truly incredible, this closed order of nuns who were in prayer and singing for, oh my God, over 8 hours a day. And they invited me to join them. And I think I managed about 3 hours a day in prayer and singing with them. And it was cute because I'd wave at them through the little gates of the church bit that I sat in. And I had this room upstairs, and I was the only person in the monastery. And they'd bring me my lunch on a little tray. It was so cute. And they had like a little, I mean, today we'd call it a holiday let, but it's a really shabby holiday let falling to pieces. And then I could chat to them and ask them questions and tell them about my spiritual experiences until I was there, sat in the little church bit on my own for about 3 days, until on the 4th day, a man of the Church of Rome arrived. And I could see him looking daggers at me, this patriarchal energy. And I could tell that he'd been put in the room beneath me. And by then I'd started to get my voice back. So in the night, I could hear him talking to some of the nuns. So I had to get a glass to the
You nosy cow. Oh, you're going to hell. You're going to hell for that one, yeah.
about me.
That's even worse. They were talking about you.
I'm like, he's going, who is this woman? On what church authority is she here? And I'm there under permission of some ex-blown away monk who's left and it is now anointing people with the oils of Mary Magdalene in his healing practice. He's no longer part of the church. He's done a runner, and set up his own healing practice, but he's still friends with some of the nuns. And I'd said to them, can I see out of a slit of the window? I see you all, doing your gardening and you're keeping bees. Can I come and help you? And they said, no, we're a closed order. Do you understand what that means? So I was like, no, not really. And they said, we don't accept outside help. We're very self-contained. But I could hear this guy, getting really cross about me. And then in the middle of the night, I felt like his soul, because he's sleeping underneath me. So his energy's coming through and almost trying to strangle me energetically in the night. And by then I got my voice back, and I think I left them with a few £100 and a bottle of Chalice Well water, and I was gone.
Wow.
But I got my voice back, and I thought it's really beautiful that they are choosing this vocation, even in today's era. This is probably, 20 years ago now. And they're in prayer for all of us in the world every day. They're praying every day and singing every day, but I did notice they all wore glasses, because that's a chance probably to pop out of the monastery and, go to the opticians. And the mother who I had an audience with in the end, because I was telling them about my spiritual awakening, and they were interpreting that as if I'd been touched by the hand of their religious God. But I tried to say, no, I don't feel it's linked to your religious God. But she'd not been out in the real world since 1960s.
Oh my God.
Wow. So they must still exist, but I don't see them walking around in the UK anymore like they used to.
Yeah. I've been asking on this channel for nuns to come forward and expose the atrocities that many of them have suffered, because why should the men that harmed them, and the mother superiors and the other nuns that hurt and harmed them and did atrocities that were hidden and done in the name of God, which is obviously a horror. You don't get to do that. Nobody gets to do that. We got to get rid of all this bloody dolly worshipping. I'm so sick of it. I've seen it. I've deleted it. It's out my world completely. No more nonsense. No more idolizing, worshipping. It's embarrassing. Get over yourself. Get a life. That's why we're in trouble. That's why we're bloody enslaved. And all again, we're trying to get you out of focusing on the one, and you're bloody doing it. You're all doing it. Not all, but some silly banana brains. But anyway, it's important. It's important that the nuns speak and the truths come out, and we keep bringing them. Like I obviously do on my channel. Now, you mentioned a term earlier. Let's go there. You said the lady you were working with that had their childhood home release use the expression, I am beside myself. Can you bring that to the awareness, please?
Yeah, what does beside myself mean? Means, I suppose, I mean, it's a saying, it's a really interesting saying, I am beside myself. It means that they're in, you know, really deep trauma, really deep grief that is not what they feel themselves. And perhaps that's a giveaway. I am not my, and we say another thing that's a giveaway, digressing slightly, I was not myself. Well, no, a lot of the time you was not yourself. You were someone else coming through you, an entity, you know, taken over. I was not myself. I was beside myself. Well, maybe that meant you were outside of yourself, sat next to you, behaving like, you know, a crazy person, even if that is, you know, sobbing and wailing. And I do know, you know, because I have a friend at the moment who I've known my whole life, and she's got sectioned yet again in the most horrific circumstances of something I'm so passionate that we must campaign about this, you know, that in not just Ireland, but in Scotland, you can be given electric shock treatment against your will or your lasting power of attorney loved one's will. That can't happen in England or Wales, I don't believe, but it can still happen in Ireland and in Scotland, you know. So these are barbaric practices. And, you know, we're all about awakening and evolving. And the reason I mention that is because, you know, when I work with clients, sometimes I'm treating such deep, visceral trauma in you, I have to sometimes turn the volume down as this primordial howling comes out of you. And if you can let that come out of you, that is the most amazing healing thing that can happen. But if you get sectioned, the minute you start howling, they're going to medicate you. They don't want you howling, and yet that is your healing process.
That's incredible. I did a round table the other day with, do you know what? I'm trying to get a ring off because it's stuck on my wedding finger. I put it on because I'm not married or engaged for a second, getting ready, right? Forgot about it, and now it's bloody stuck on my finger, swelling up.
The Spanish wear it on the other hand.
No more weddings for you, Dani. Sorry. Go back to what you were saying. Beside, I want to say that it's really important, especially for parents with children. Okay, so again, as the work you and I do, Andrea, with children, adult children, the inner child, all of it, therapy. So I have over the years met so many people, my kid's not right, my child's not themselves, la 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 la, what happened, fell down the slide, bumped head, had a trauma, was in a car accident, had an illness, saw daddy beat mummy half to death, you know, these kinds of things. And literally the spirit can bump out of the body. So we can literally be walking alongside ourselves. We're not in the body, we're attached to it. Of course, we're attached to it. The soul's attached to the physical body. And so a really, really easy way of everyone getting back in their own bodies is gently tapping the crown. Just very gently tapping the crown. And I don't care how stupid it looks or how silly it sounds. This is so important. I took care of a little boy, 3 years old, always leaving the body, always leaving the body, getting all kinds of diagnoses, autistic, not there, something's happening, brain aneurysm potential, all these diagnoses. No, he just kept trying to leave his body because he couldn't bear the density of the planet, like so many other very sensitive children. So
And you're right, because
tapping the crown.
Also when you're born and you have a natural birth, you know, oh, there's a lady with an amazing child. She's very passionate about it, and she's right. She's absolutely right. You know, when they put the fetal monitor on, that causes distress to the baby. People don't realize that when you're crowning and giving birth. But when you're giving birth, you have this wave compression that comes from coming out of the birth canal naturally. Now, if you're not born naturally, that wave compression doesn't happen. So you're not earthed for planet Earth and being here. So you really should go and take your your baby for craniosacral work, you know, because you need that wave compression to come over the body. And people don't think about these things, but they're so important. It's like, you know, again, get away from the taboo, the emotional taboo. I mean, we had that once at a workshop with a client of mine. She felt so much guilt when we were starting to talk about, you know, natural birth and the good things that come from natural birth. But of course, that's not possible for everyone. And you don't have the consciousness that you have now to know that, you know, may have been a good thing, you know, that you should have done, and you couldn't help yourself because that was the situation you were in. So, you know, big waves of guilt come upon women. And it's like she was now howling, you know, with guilt and shame. I was like, let all that guilt and shame go, because that is not going to serve you. And you know, the toxicity of holding this emotional taboo of guilt and shame inside yourself of the things you've done, and it's you judging you. Okay, you know, we see it in past lives. You know, the community or the villagers judge you too. You know, the amount of times you see people being hung or drowned in the village. What's happening? I'm being drowned in the village square, you know, because I dabbled with a few herbs. And the villagers have turned on me, and we're always looking to turn on people. You know, we're like the baying mobs, you know, but we've got to get out of doing that, because it's not helping any of us. And you've got to heal the past lives where you have either been the baying mob, because in general what people see is where in past lives you usually see where you've been the victim until you evolve a bit more, and when you're emotionally ready you'll see where you've been the victimizer, you know, and you won't see that till you're ready. So when people are scared to do this inner work, you know, you hear people go, oh, I'm terrified of what I might see. I might have been a bad person. You know, for sure, in the totality of all the lives you've lived, you've been a good person and a bad person and everything in between. And this is why, you know, I think it's the scales of Anubis, isn't it? In the Egyptian mythology, they show the scales of balance, and they have the heart on one scale and a feather on the other, because your heart has to be as light as a feather to leave the reincarnation grid. You cannot leave the reincarnation grid until your heart is as light as a feather. And I just said to you, I've seen so many men leave the planet right now, and you know, people go, oh, they must have been jibby jabs. No, they weren't. These guys just had not resolved. You know, I think women find it easier to men may look like they move on quicker in relationships. You know, you might say, oh, it came to an end and they moved on and met someone else. But I think men hold emotional trauma and, you know, romanticize about a relationship that maybe ended 10 or 20 years ago. Oh, she was the one. You don't, I made a mistake. You don't hear women saying that so much. It's men, you know, they sort of dwell in this heart of, oh, if only, you know, and then they pop off because they haven't healed their emotional trauma in their hearts.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many things there. There's so many things that we raise. There's so many areas to go. But yeah, it's sad to hear about the men leaving the body, leaving the planet, and also those that stay. That when they're single, and especially a lot of widowers. Yeah, the men are widowers, aren't they?
Yeah.
That they seem that just cannot be alone within 6 months to 1 year. They're already shacked up and, you know, living with someone. And it is the case invariably so often. And then the kids that are left behind who've just had to deal with that losing their mother has now got to deal with another woman, and maybe she's got kids, and maybe it's going to affect the will, and then it all starts a different layer, you know, of turmoil. And you've got someone like me, essentially a widow, and my husband left 5 years ago, and there's absolutely no way that I have been in any rush whatsoever. I think that you get to a point where you can also use that as an excuse, and I'm not. I'm just waiting for Johnny Depp to call me. No, I'm joking. Johnny Depp, don't call. Just having fun. Just having fun. I don't know who I fancy these days. Oh, but don't say that. Don't joke about people being your boyfriend. Don't do that. I just did that. I thought it was very funny, but the judges were out, you know. Don't say that's your boyfriend. You know, you can't even have a laugh these days. far too many judgy women out there, women in particular. I think some women need a bit of a sit down and a bit of a slap and a bit of a sorting out. Sort your ego out. You know, I was in an environment recently where it was so devastating. I felt like I was being bullied at my own party. And I will
Oh,
say that, yes, I will say that because it was true. It was very unkind, very mean, and very cruel. And I was very horrified, especially at the ringleader. And I thought, wow, that's really quite devastating. I'm in my 50s, I'm doing this, and you're behaving that way. Well, I think I need to just drop you off on the side of the swamp and let you figure things out. And that's all right too. It's all right. It's all right. You know, it takes us a while sometimes to see. But I think that everybody on this planet has something to learn. And we can't avoid and run away and hide behind people. That doesn't work. You know, that's why I say I was talking to Mariska, you know, Mariska. Yeah, beautiful Mariska.
lovely, Rich.
Yeah, we're meeting up in a couple of days. I need to get her away from her baby. And I mean that, mothers out there and dads. She's got her baby constantly on the boob. I'm like, right, you fill that kid up, knock her out to sleep, you know, fill her up so she's good. And we're going to go for a walk down the seafront for an hour, you know. So we got to look after our girlfriends like that. They got to, you know, they got to kind of get out. But we were
And
chatting.
that's another thing in therapy I see. You know, you kind of cut the umbilical cord, and that's a whole other thing. Like delayed cord clamping is a good thing, you know. And then there's lotus births where you keep the cord attached to the baby and it drops off naturally over 7 days. But I see women, you know, the woman might be 50, 60, 70, and etherically the umbilical cord is still attached to their adult child who is 30, you know. And so you have to heal this umbilical cord. You have to let your child go. You know, there are people I know in my friendship circle, I would say that the umbilical cord is still attached, and you have to tread carefully, you know, discussing this with them. But to me, as a therapist outside looking in, it's so clear that the umbilical cord has not been attached, you know, and detached, you know. And I think, you know, you've heard me say this before, you know, like their balls are still in mummy's handbag. And that's why women dance around their handbags in nightclubs, in the hope that some gentleman might come over and go, oh, excuse me, I do think they're mine in that handbag. Retrieve them.
Oh my gosh. I do remember years ago saying to an Irish friend, for God's sake, give him back his balls. Like it was to the point where if you demasculate that man any further in front of his sons as well, so out of order, bang out of order for all mums and dads, male and female, that balance in particular. Like, don't do that. Don't try and be the big up, the hero, the I'm a woman in power and I can put daddy down. Why would you want to put daddy down? That makes you look like an awful person. And then you're also demasculating your sons. You're showing them that women can do that. That then programs them to potentially attract a bully because mummy is a bully, and vice versa. If daddy is talking down to mummy and mummy doesn't stand up and correct it, then the girls are also being programmed to accept that males can be bullies and then attract that. And it happens over and over. As we know, as therapists, we sit down with clients, you know, we talk about the backgrounds, their upbringing, what they saw in the home. There's always a story from the home foundation. No matter if it was mum, dad, a children's home, whatever the situation, it always feeds into young child, teen, young 20s, 30s, and onwards and forwards. It's really finding that route, isn't it, to unlock our pain.
Yeah, and I think people, it's hard to explain to people how important emotional intelligence is. You know, and I spent half of my life helping people heal the trauma of the sibling being born, you know, and then being the child that was already existing before the sibling was born. And there's this family that I watch on YouTube. I do love this family. They don't even know how conscious they are. You know, they're a really sweet family. Maybe some of the people follow them, Connor and Leanne, and they have this gorgeous little baby boy called Cozy. And this little boy is the most emotionally intelligent child I've ever seen. He's just adorable, but it's reflective of their parenting, and you can see it, you know, even when they introduce the new sibling to him. she wasn't holding the baby when the little boy, who's never been separated from mummy until these days of mummy giving birth, wasn't I don't think it was a home birth. A lot of people do have home births, but if your child's been separated from you while you've gone to the hospital, she made him the center of attention as soon as he came in the room. And it wasn't like mummy's busy with the baby, so you're going to be second. It was like gave him all her attention. And then it was introducing the new baby, and would he like to hold the new baby, and the new baby's got a present for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you introduce your existing child to the new child, in those few moments, you will make me out of a job in the future, because I won't be spending my life healing the trauma of how you got introduced to your sibling. Yeah. And how there's still, sometimes obviously the sibling rivalry from past lives, and often it's so deep, it's beyond this lifetime. It's not how your parents introduced you, it's past life stuff. I've seen like, oh, they killed me in a past life, and it's a truth. We go back to the past life and we see what your sibling did to you in a past life, or we see what you did to your sibling in a past life, and that's why you've incarnated with them in this lifetime, to heal this. Because remember, this is what people seem to forget. Your parents, very few parents are conscious enough to draw in a child. I rejected one once with someone I was dating, and there was a soul hovering near me, and was interested in him, not me. It was just like, well, I'm dating her. He's dating her. That's a way to get in for me to be his child. But when I spoke to the soul of this baby, it said, yeah, I want to be his child, because he abandoned me in a past life when I was with a different mother, but he abandoned me and I want to be his son again. So I had this conversation with the guy I was dating, and I said, I don't think I'm going to be the mother of this child. I said, but you need to pick wisely, because this soul's going to keep coming to you no matter which women you're dating, because this soul is after you until you resolve this with him from the previous lifetime. So when we resolve that can mean that baby wouldn't have to even incarnate as your child. So the complexities of healing our past lives and the souls that are waiting to incarnate, and it's we as the children are choosing the parents. The parents very rarely are conscious enough, and it would be great if we could explain conscious conception to people in future. I've got gorgeous books other people have written on conscious conception, to know that you can choose the baby that you want to have, and you can go, no, I don't need to heal this. We need to clear our past life stuff so that we can be at peace. Even if you do choose to come to me as a baby, like I think I perhaps tried to come to my mum for quite a long time, but because I seem to get on really well with older people, which means I was meant to come to planet Earth earlier than I did, but I didn't get to come in then. So I'd obviously chosen this family to incarnate into.
Wow, again, wow, so many areas and levels to go in there and address. And of course, those that aren't attuned to the reality of a baby soul or a baby spirit or a baby being that literally is looking for the next parent, because that is a reality, we're going to sound like a couple of wackadoodles, which is great, and neither do we care. Bring it on. At some point, hopefully, the thing is, people get information as and when it's meant to come, even if it's something they're going to sneer at and judge. At least the seed is then implanted. But what we mustn't do is then try and figure out every lifetime, every person we come in contact with, why this and why not that, because that can add more kind of trauma. Stepping back to a couple of things you said that really are important in terms of the birthing. Now, a lot of people are told, well, the baby didn't come through the birth canal out through the vagina. It means that the fontanelle, the soft pot on the crown, isn't properly engaged. It also means it's not going to release certain hormones in the body. It also means potentially the milk isn't going to come in properly. And I can tell you, it's absolute bollocks. None of that is true. You can always align, you know what I mean? For some, though, we don't want them worrying. Let me finish this little bit here. We don't want people worrying and guilting themselves, mothers, of course, who are birthing these babies. Something often always happens happens, or somebody will find an Andrea and get a connection that way. We cannot be living and tormenting ourselves. It's like the other end, you know, when because like women who've had cesarean sections, they either chose to or they had to. Doesn't matter. It's still natural. It's a natural birth. What's not natural is a baby that doesn't come out. Do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, we got to be kinder, everybody. Now, when the
It's
milk, just put on the milk ducts, some mothers can't breastfeed. If they're lucky, even 1, 2, 3 days of getting the first of the colostrum out, what we call the gold top, and being a former nursery nurse, of course, this is my field, a field of expertise. And again, that gives the baby that lays down the antibiotics, the kind of the immune system. And but even if that's not possible, it's okay. You know, it's okay. There's so many, like Billy Carson's a good example. My friend Billy Carson, the great speaker. He's 6'5" or 6", I forget. I hugged him enough times. Oh, don't say that. Anyway, and he had no nutrition, no this, no that. He felt like he should have been a little runt. He wasn't looked after properly. Yet the blueprint, the natural blueprint in his genome, came to full fruition. You know, so we got to stop worrying
I mean,
so
you
much
can
about it.
fix things, you know, that's the thing. But I mean, I suppose I might disagree, because the taboo is we do have to deal with our guilt. You know, we have to deal with, you know, when I was younger, if I'd have had a child when I was 19, I'd have probably been in line for a nanny. You know, I would have thought it was good to have a nanny. You know, if I had one now, you okay? I I would have had a completely different approach, because as we evolve our consciousness, we go, oh, all the things we've done, you've got to forgive yourself. And there are always solutions for every problem. There's always a solution, you know. It's like, oh, well, I did that. Yeah, well, forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself, because you only do what you do with the level of consciousness that you have at the time of evolution. See, I would disagree. I say, yeah, we do need to remember our past lives, but we need to remember them in a way that we totally forgive ourselves. You know, I've done some really dastardly things in some past lives, and it was, you know, even I don't have any children because of my past lives. You know, they were weighing so heavy on me. You know, it was when the last 3 guys, you know, that I'd attracted when I was in the last chance saloon to have a baby naturally, and I'm quite puritanical that in my mindset that I personally wouldn't have wanted to have a child unless it was natural. Like, I didn't want IVF, I didn't want a surrogate. I just wanted to meet a guy who wanted to be with me. And I cannot tell you how difficult that was. And when I saw the most shadow lives of the worst things I'd ever done in other lifetimes, was when consecutively I had dabbled briefly in online dating, in my last chance saloon to maybe meet someone and have a family. And I attracted 3 men in a run who'd had vasectomies. And I thought, oh my God, you know, why have I, wow, here am I in the last chance saloon, you know, kind of like looking for a guy who might want to have a family with me. And the last 3 guys that I've connected with online, who seemed lovely initially, till they told me they'd had a vasectomy, I was like, ooh, on the third one, what? Why is that?
Wow.
You know, and that is the self-inquiry. Why, you know, this is the spiritual work that I'm super passionate about, is the self-reflection of, why have I attracted that? Wow, it's got to be about me. It's not about them. It's not about them. Okay, you could go, well, why did they choose to do that? They felt that it was the right thing at the time for them and the woman they were with, or you know, they just like, I don't want to have any more children. But why have I attracted that? And then you're like, ooh. And then I went into that and I saw the shadow lives, and I had to heal and clear all that. So that's the thing. We can be sad about the things that didn't happen in our lives that we would have thought might have been nice. But in the totality of who you've been, you know, I've lived thousands of lifetimes. I've been a mother in many, many lifetimes. And you could even say to this point, perhaps my ego wanted to be a mother, but it was not for my soul in this lifetime. Or I could even say, even if I'd have processed all this stuff sooner, which I couldn't because I wasn't aware of it sooner, um, maybe I might have been a mother, but then I chose to look after my parents in my last few years where I could have been a mother, but I'm an only child and I chose to incarnate as an only child. So I got stuck or lumbered or joyfully wished to look after my parents. Depends how you look at that facet of your life. But I chose to, as many of you will do, many of you are either been through where I've been through, nursing your elderly parents, or as I'm seeing with some of my friends, because I'm of older parents, their parents haven't quite got old enough that they've got to nurse them. But I'm seeing people going down that road. You have to live with the choices that you made, and you have to forgive yourselves for all the choices you've made or not made. And you have to find a way to be at peace in your inner self with your life. And you have to be gracious and forgiving to other people. And you have to also agree to disagree with other people. We can't all have the same thoughts and beliefs and can't go around going, they're wrong, I'm right. You have to go, well, I have a different opinion, but that's great. Let's hear your opinion. Let's agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's a huge one, and we'll have to get into that more next time we come together because we're on a time crunch today. But the theory that I was talking with Mariska earlier, we're talking about sides. When people say you have to choose a side, I disagree. I disagree on so many levels. You do not need to choose a side. You're here to heal this, to have your counsel, because surely picking a side means I'm against you and there's more than I'm against you and there's competition, and we're caught up in other people's bollocks. I'm tired of everyone's bollocks. I'll just deal with my own bollocks. Thank you very much. Again, people assume because there's certain people on my channel that I am going to live and die hard on the cross and on the sword for Trump or for Elon, or I don't trust any of them. I'm watching them all, and guess what? I am free to say that and to think that. And if that means someone watching goes, oh, are you saying you don't like Trump or you do like Trump? I'm saying neither nor, lovely. Neither nor. Now, what are you going to do with that? Where's the judgment going to go? There can't be. Unless they go, well, you have to pick a side. And if you don't support Trump, I hate you. And if you don't hate Putin, I hate, oh, it's so yawnable, isn't it? Yawn. It's boring and dull. And we're here. This is where we are as a humanity. Thinking for ourselves, advocating for ourselves, healing this. Stop getting into gangs. Stop getting away from your own healing, using excuses, gaggling over here. Because every single group that chooses to gaggle, or the mean girls I mentioned earlier, their world is never going to be the same. Because a fundamental shift took place. A side and a line was drawn. Now what? Now go see what happens in that little mess over there. And that's a good analogy of the whole of the world, isn't it?
And I think it's always, even if you don't agree with someone, it's like, I support you having your freedom of speech to express yourself. Even though I think you're wrong, I will support you to have your freedom of speech, especially as a woman, where in other lifetimes women have been killed for not being allowed to speak their truth. So even if your truth is completely different to my truth, let me help you. I mean, I suppose a good way to sort of end this is like, I didn't agree with Margaret Thatcher's policies, but as a woman, she was an incredible leader. And when she died, I bizarrely found myself getting lost. And before I knew where I was driving, I was in Grantham, which was her birth town. And it turned out to be the day she died. And I thought, you know what? I just put a little flower there for her. Didn't believe in anything she believed in, but I support her in being a woman, having her voice heard.
I mean, interesting. She's a very masculine. She's a very manly, and a lot of people, again, same as Trump and Putin, love them or hate them. Either way, I'm not interested. Let's just see how my people, how my brothers and my sisters are going to fare, how they're going to be taken care of. That is the duty of the servant, that puts themselves above the parapet. How are you going to serve the people. If you're going to just put yourself at the top, then I'm going to keep on walking. We're not in conversation together. But yeah, she was a woman who got the top job in England. Well done. Good to see a woman. And why wouldn't we? And I can't believe still I get so wound up. Oh, the first black woman on the moon, or are we really still having those conversations? Are we really making a point of someone's color? Have we not grown past that bullshit yet? Oh, it's a thing. It's not a thing. That's my brother or my sister. Yeah. Why are you so behind the
And you
people
see
that,
it, when I take people into past lives, I'm like, look down, what's the color of your skin? Oh, it's a different color than it is in this lifetime. I'm a different gender. One of my last incarnations was a black guy with a really bad attitude, in the 1960s. I think that was my previous thing. That was how I opened up to all this stuff, was through doing a development class where we were going into our past lives, and I was describing what I saw, and the lady was like, that was you in a past life. I was like, oh, and and he had a big sort of like coat on and everything. And so that's the thing. It's like, you're judging yourself because it will have been you in a past life. Religion, politics, anything. You've had so many beliefs that you've lived and died for in past lives, all been bullied out of. And that's the other thing. That's where I think that phrase "die by your own sword" comes in. It's like, stand in your truth of who you are and what you believe in, and you have to develop your core emotional personality out of these emotional taboos to be strong enough to not care what other people think. It's like, when people, a bit like what you were saying, what do you think about this or that? It's like, to be honest with you, I got that much going on at the moment, clearing my parents' house with my little antique vintage shop up north, and my clients and my other stuff. I haven't got time to be worrying about external politics outside of myself, because I haven't got the time or the energy to focus on that right now. And I think that's also what a wise soul does, is you pick your priorities of it's not what people say, well, you should be concerned about this, you should be concerned about that. I mean, I did set up a change.org the other day because I'm passionate about saving the Art Deco building, swimming baths in Crewe, where I'm from, because my grandmother and my great uncle were there at the opening in 1937. And I feel passionate that the money that we're going to spend to knock it down, 1.3 million, we should be spending that money to save the building.
Yeah.
That which ties in with the other favorite subject that you interviewed somebody about, the Tartarian Empire. Now that's a little favorite of mine.
Guy Anderson, he's so great. Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. Yeah, he's one of many incredibly beautiful, wonderful people on my channel, including yourself, and so many more to come, and some old friends from the past coming back around, which I'm so delighted to have. One being Laura Eisenhower, who hasn't been on my channel for quite some time. We had a great chat last night because I'm really digging deep into the MK. Oh, you saw it? Yeah, the MK Ultra. Yeah, me, JP, because Laura Eisenhower and JP were on a trip at Montauk doing video while I'm
I've
literally
been to Montauk.
yeah, and it's such a big subject, and we're trying to put it right on the front line right now, because this is going to answer so many questions. Because I know everyone on this planet is under some kind of MK Ultra mind control, mass hypnosis. There's no question we are
Cartoons,
absolutely.
cartoons. I mean, that's why I'm interested in Montauk, because I was asleep when I was about 27, 28, when I was those ages. But I spent a lot of time in Long Island, and I was in my little car, and I thought, oh, let's go to the end of Long Island. And I drove all the way to Montauk, and I got there. I mean, you think if you're going on a day out, a trip, you're going to get out of the car and just look around. I got there, I was like, this is really bad vibes. And I wasn't even yet completely awake then. And I just drove back again. I didn't even get out of the car.
Mm.
And so now when you interview people, and I've read books on Monday, I'm like, that makes sense to why I never got out of the car.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I was living on Kauai, And it's a blessed island with a lot of push-pull energy on it. Like some really negative things have happened, and the military are there. They've put their, there are satellite receivers on the very top in the furthest area. You're looking at the map, it's that northeast, south, southwest, northeast, southwest area. To on oh my gosh, oh my God.
Leyline? No.
No, the Polahale,
Oh,
Polahale, um, Polahale, which is the beach at the end where we say the souls leave the planet. And so the military have put their on the highest cliffs over there, put their receivers, and there's a heiau up there as well, an ancient Hawaiian temple burial ground. There's heiaus all over the islands, as we know. And I could feel so much. I'm going to do a whole drop on this again because it's time I revisited this. It's on my list. Anyway, long story short, when I was driving down, I ended up going onto a military area and I tried to drive in behind a truck, and these guys got out and they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just want to come in." So like, "Are you military?" I'm like, "No." I said, "Because you can't lie." And they went, and they're
inviting
like,
myself.
"What are you doing?" And I said, "I just want to come in and have a look around." They said, "You can't do that." So anyway, so I got back in my car and I drove right up and then up on another level, right up to a military gate, and had all my stuff, my frankincense, my myrrh, my sage, my this, my that. And I did a little blessing because I could feel, I didn't know what I was feeling. Something really bad has happened here. And I was standing there taking my time, saging, blessing, saying prayers, and connecting to the devas and the, nature and the kahunas, and thinking, well, like there's cameras, like watching what I'm doing, and I'm doing no harm. I'm blessing. I'll do what I like. That's not arrogant. These are people make a mistake. How is that arrogant? I would like to bless this land where I can feel trauma, where I can feel stuckness. It is something I do in my life. I've always done it. I will always do it where I am able. So I'm doing it. And nobody came. I was fully ready for, military to come out the gate, or for a big old, "What are you doing, you silly woman?" You accept it all. And no one came, nothing happened. And I was very pleased to do that. And as I believe we should, we should. This is our planet. We're here to
Yeah.
help correct and heal and bless, not take it on, not be victims to it, not be martyrs to
And
it.
like you, I have so many stories from this lifetime of Hawaii, of the islands. I spent a lot of time on the Big Island, and yeah, and then Maui. I had a little bit of a meltdown on Haleakala. It's like kind of like, I think it triggers your stuff. It's these are powerful portals on the planet. And I know in my heart I love the Hawaiian Islands. They are just magical. But,
Okay.
like all places, they have their challenges, isn't it? Nowhere is perfect. I don't think, I see so many spiritual people going, "Where are you going to live? Where's the perfect place to be? Where should we be?" And it's like, I don't think there is the perfect place to be. I think astrology's, when you do that, is it the astrocartography where they look at where you could live for your birth chart might be more benevolent to you than
Yeah.
some places, because some places you're like, "I'm not staying here, like I'm not even getting out of the car, let alone living here." So there's so much depth to learn, isn't there? And you're interviewing so many of these amazing people with amazing knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all for everyone to take what resonates and throw the rest away. And we don't have to follow anyone. We don't have to believe entirely in this organization or this thing or no. Come on. This is self-ownership for everybody. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It really is. And you're a beautiful thing, Andrea Foulkes. And I have missed you too, my dear. I've missed your presence here. Now tell us, how can people book you for a one-to-one session?
Well, if they want to see my stuff on YouTube, I'm Andrea Foulkes, Past Life Regression. I think it says Intuitive Visionary or something like that on YouTube. I've got loads of little videos I make now and again. I do some on Facebook as well. I've got 2 accounts on Facebook. But to book a session in my old antiquated website, and I do need a new website. If anybody's a website person, I think I'm in a tricky situation because I had a website back in the day, and I still got my own server and things like that, but I do need a new website. So don't be shamed by my website. It's andreafoulkes.com. So it's AndreaFoulkes.com. And I work online from 9 a.m. UK time to 8 p.m. Not all those hours, I just do a couple a day. UK time, and then in person you have to arrange that. I've got quite a few people coming this weekend to Glastonbury, but in the UK, when I'm in the UK, wherever I bibby bob about in the world, I tend to offer one-to-one sessions because it works out. I like what I do, you know, it's my passion, it's what I do, and it can facilitate me to bob about the world. And so those sessions are 2 hours, and they're deep regression. And then sometimes I get people who want to come and do a whole day, and we go to a sacred site and do a couple of sessions. And in all what I'm doing, I'm singing light language, sound frequency healing. And, you know, that's probably a conversation for another day. Some sounds even I don't like that come out of other people, but the sounds that I seem to emanate seem to have healing experiences on people or activate some. A lot of people, after they hear me sing light language, start singing light language themselves.
Yeah.
So obviously it's opening something in them
Yeah.
that needs to be opened. But you know,
Yeah.
also we can talk another time about sound and stones and sacred
Healing,
sites and ley lines
frequency.
and
Yeah.
what that does.
Just on that, every time that has been light language has been criticized, I have always said the one person I trust is you. I mean,
Oh,
you're the only person I actually know that does like light
oh.
language. So, but listen, because a lot of people, they put that light language in a new age box when they need to look at their new ageness themselves because it's actually wicked and cruel. Because the sound, when we sing, we feel better. We're
It
opening, we're
sounds.
healing, we're tuning, we're humming. I'm getting Shanti on my channel. She's got a new book, Shanti from Aquarius, Africa Rising. And she's got this book on Ankara, which she's going to explain what that is. It's beautiful. And it's the humming, humming, humming. We need to return. We can't be saying, I don't agree with light language, therefore it's all rubbish and fake and new age. Knock it off. It's
Yeah, no,
rude
it's
and
I
aggressive.
work with, there's girls I work with that, you know, we're how can I put it? We're friends, but we're not friends. We're friends who on a soul level come together when we need to, and we go to sacred sites together, and we make sound at these sacred sites because we know that the collective group energy of the sounds we can make together, not individually, but when we come together as a group energy, the sounds we can make together are powerful for the ley lines and for humanity. And it's
Yeah.
beyond our egos. You know, some of us don't get on in general
Yeah, of
in
course. Yeah.
personality, but
And
we,
but there are people that also just come on, just stop it. That's not light language. Knock it off. Just stop it. There are some, and it's obvious. It's
yeah,
obvious, and it's so. Oh, I was in the waters with Nikki Allen. We were in the what's it called? Where we go in the waters in the inside of that beautiful kind of cave
where are
in
you?
Glastonbury, where the
Oh,
waters meet.
I don't like it there, but you liked
I've
it.
been there my one time. I loved it. I loved it. It was a beautiful experience.
The
It was
White
shocking.
Spring.
The White Springs. Okay, it was shocking to see naked people. I didn't know that, it's been a long time since I've seen a man with his clothes off and two suddenly appeared. I wasn't ready for that. I was shocked. I mean, oh, whoops. And Nikki went, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, there's lots of naked people in here. I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to be me. So, but anyway, so we were in there and it was so ancient and old and well, it felt ancient and old and it looks very much like it's very old. Anyway, so I'm holding a hand and we're standing in the freezing water, hoping we don't slip and just kind of meditating and just feeling that other people are meditating and there's smells and it's beautiful. There's a bloody woman on one side of us who starts like, wee! I'm like, oh my God, stop, lady. Because there's this other couple of girls who are singing and tuning beautifully and harmonically, and it's fitting with the acoustics and it's doing something lovely. And then this one, she starts up, I'm like, oh God, that's such a discord. And then she went round the other side and did it on the other side. I'm thinking, you are deliberately making discordance across these waters. Why would you do that? For attention, to interrupt, to be the one. And, those kind of people, it's like, Dolly, sit down. Come on.
And some sounds are not right for everyone. There's a guy, I mean,
Yeah.
I won't name him, but he's very well known and he's written books. And I somehow found myself at one of his events and I took some of my clients with him. I had to put my fingers in my ears when they made sound. It was not for my soul. Whatever sound they were making was not for me. I needed to get out of there. It was so unharmonious to me. And also, depending on what your frequency is, I see people who've got a lot of trauma, okay, and they haven't processed that yet. They really like gongs. I don't like gongs. I like crystal bowls because my frequency's gone beyond the gongs. And I don't mean that in an egocentric way. It's just you have to honor who you are and where you're at, and what's right for you isn't right for someone else. It's the same with people when slightly digressing, but things like, people go, oh, I love Amma, Mother Mira, I love all that, and I've gone to meet these people and I've got absolutely nothing out of it. Yet I've taken with me some very, very wounded people who've not done any inner work on themselves. There's no self-reflection. And they've had a hug from Mother Amma is the hugging one, and Mother Mira is the one who looks in their eyes. And they're crying and they've got something, and they've got something really valuable they needed. But I didn't need it. There was nothing in it for me, but I'm glad I was able to bring other people who needed something.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And it's right, and it's okay. Not everyone is for everyone. I am not for everyone, and that's okay. You don't have to tell me and hurt my feelings, but that's all right. It's all right. It's okay.
It's the truth, because sometimes you think, oh, well, I don't need to write a book because somebody else has written it. But the somebody else who's written it, people don't like their personality. So they want to hear maybe the same thing written by you with a personality that they resonate more with, because it's a personality game, isn't it? And we've all got different personalities, and people go, oh, I resonate more with this person, I don't resonate with that person, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's all okay. And sometimes we find, like, there was a lady in my live chat last night, and I haven't seen her for ages in the live chat. And she was using a different name because she's got two accounts. And so I didn't realize who it was at first. I knew I feel like you. I can feel everyone coming in the chat. You can feel the resonance. You don't know who the hell half of them are. But, I'm just so grateful that they're there, and I try and interact with everybody lovingly. And I'm so grateful they're sharing time, choosing to spend time on my channel when they could be doing a million other channels. I feel really grateful for that. Anyway, so start this woman, and then I remember feeling and thinking, oh, she feels lovely, this lady. And I knew it was a feminine energy. And then she's like, oh, it's Beth. And I'm like, oh, it's Beth. And I remember like 2, 3 years ago, Beth was always in my chats, and then, people go and do different things. And then there's a lot of that happening in my world, like a lot of beautiful, like reconnections happening. And you hope that when that does happen, that we've all grown. All of us are going to be spiraling, because we do spiral. We spiral. That's the way of the universe. She spirals as we grow. That's growth. And it's a beautiful thing. And sometimes we're exactly where we were. And that's all right too for some people. It's okay. It's okay. Well, anyway, I can validate your beautiful healing sessions. And it was a good job that when we did our session years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, the first one was not long after my beautiful Jeff had died, and I was in complete trauma. And if I'd sat in front of you, I would have not been able to like have my scream cry that I needed to release that trauma, because he dropped very, very suddenly and violently, and that was terrible. So people that certainly have had that trauma of violence, I would definitely recommend, because you can hold space beautifully on the phone, just being there present with them while they then are able to comfortably process and not have to look pretty, worry about if you're staring at them, or yeah, it's very, very important. So AndreaFoulkes.com, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And we'll have you back soon. We should get Mariska on again with us,
Yeah.
and bring her in, and she can give us the tales of her baby and birthing and all the great, amazing wisdom and musicality and brilliant therapy that beautiful girl brings to. Gosh, I know some amazing people. I'm so blessed.
And
So
no,
blessed.
and everybody's amazing. The thing is, though, I think some of us are called to do this as a vocation. It's what we do. It doesn't mean that you're not healing people. We can't all, if we all did this job, no one else would be doing the other jobs. So even in the job that you do, you're doing something really powerful and valuable for the people maybe where you work or you live. It's not always obvious that it's a healing thing that you're doing, isn't it? It's like I knew a girl who was an air hostess, and when she described being in a dolly trolley, although we're not meant to say that these days, very politically incorrect, but she saw it as her healing work. This was her
Ah,
missionary,
ah,
serving these people was her
yeah.
work.
A lot of hairdressers say have said the same thing, like they know their therapy, their sound. Well, I just saw a massive angel light right here. I don't know if
I
it's gonna
started out as a hairdresser.
I don't know if it's going to flash up. Like sometimes I'll get like beautiful like angel orbs and on my screen people see it, but I wonder if that will resonate at the end right there. That was beautiful. But yeah, a lot of people hands-on doing healing, but we've got to remember they mustn't absorb the energy of the person. They're not helping them by carrying their weight. Leave the weight with the person, just love and bless them because all you're doing is taking their energy, running it through your body, which makes you ill. That's their energy frequency. It'll go and find them. It will magnetize back. You've just slowed them down. You haven't helped them. So it's very, very important to know that. Well, Andrea Foulkes, my love, until next time, God
Thank you,
bless you
everyone.
soon. And to
Thanks.
you guys, yeah, so good to have you back. And guys, let me know who else you'd like to have on my channel here, who you'd like to hear from also. And if you have any questions directly for Andrea, put them in the comments section. And next time she comes, we will get to those as well. All right, my name is Dani Henderson. I'll send you love from my heart to yours, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.